I didn't realize I was live. Okay.
Welcome back, Malcolm. So Malcolm is an expert, so he's going to be talking about NFTs shaping the future of art and games.
Okay,
So
great.
that's going to be the
All right.
industry exposure in 2020. So Malcolm, I've introduced you. Again, I'm introducing. He is the Chief Strategic Advisor, Technicorum Holdings, Singapore, serial entrepreneur, founder of Gravitas International. He is author of two books, focus on DeFi projects, and he is an expert in blockchain technologies. Go ahead, Malcolm.
Okay, thanks very much, Rajan, for your kind introduction again. Now I'll be talking about NFTs with relation to art and games. But before getting into the specifics of art and games, I'd like to give an overview about NFTs and about the various industries that they will be impacting. And I'll show a couple of the very popular websites that do NFTs. Right now, there are more and more marketplaces for NFTs. So uh, NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Earlier, Eddie had a great session where he explained in very concise terms a lot of the very difficult concepts. So I'll just repeat again. Basically, non-fungible tokens are unique tokens which represent something of value, right? So in the prior to blockchain, prior to NFTs in a digital form, everyone is familiar with card trading games. You know, something like baseball cards in the West. You have your tank cards, playing cards. You know, all sorts of playing cards. Magic the Gathering for those who played, MTG. Nowadays we have Pokemon trading cards. So my son loves his Pokemon cards. Every time he has new ones, he will show it to me. So all these collectibles and cards lend themselves very well to NFTs because every NFT is essentially a unique token, right? You can create one token for one thing, or you can create a limited series to represent the same kind of thing. So it's very much like share certificates where you can have a company issuing, let's say, 100 shares or 50 shares, and each person who gets some shares will have a certificate number. So it's a running number, and it may be different. Or it could be public company shares, or it could be land titles. If you have a unit in a house, it all looks the same inside. You have the same general address, but each of your units is different, right? Once you open up, it's totally different inside. So all of these things can be identified by NFTs. So the general market is worth, in my opinion, worth trillions of dollars. Right now, the total market capitalization in NFTs is not so much because the so-called real use cases in the financial world hasn't come in yet. But the moment that people are more comfortable with using NFTs to represent ownership in, let's say, real estate, in equities, in a lot of financial products, then the real value of NFTs will be unlocked. Even now, since we're on the topic of art and games, there are unique paintings that have gone for, I think, 5 and 6 digit figures. And of course, everyone is familiar with the game that crashed it all, right? 3 years ago, around about 3 years and 1 month ago, in November 2017, CryptoKitties was extremely popular and it crashed the whole Ethereum network because so many people were just trading kitties, right? CryptoKitties online. I think the top CryptoKitty card, top CryptoKitty NFT fetched 160,000 US dollars worth, right? Just for one unique card, one unique kitty, right? So that was a very interesting genesis of the whole NFT and art and games kind of environment. So now there are more and more games. I'll describe a few in general terms, but let me just wrap up on the general use case of NFTs. So, like I said, it can be used for shares in companies. It can be used for real estate. It can be used for certain financial products. It can be used to represent things like diamond ownership, because every diamond has its own birth certificate, right? Without a birth certificate for a diamond, it could very well be a blood diamond, or it could be something that was from the black market. So then the value of that particular diamond will be less. But if you have a factory-made diamond and inside there's a certificate number, then it represents the ownership. So, so NFTs can represent practically anything. Anyone can think of anything that can be identified uniquely, and it can be an NFT. For a big problem in the recent years is also scams in terms of employees who fake their educational certificates or fake their CVs. But if school issues the certificates, they're usually in paper form. But now with NFTs, for example, one of the projects we are working with called Unifinity, they do education NFTs. So in other words, you can create your own digital representation of the certificate that's issued by the school, and that will prove the authenticity of your certification from the educational institute. I think that's a very important part of this current global environment and internet environment that we live in. So many things can be photoshopped, so many things can be faked. But if there is an NFT that can prove provenance, can prove ownership, and prove that it is a real certificate, it is verified because of the public blockchain, then that's a huge use case for NFTs. Okay, so now let's move into the main topic, art and games. So, like I mentioned, the very, very popular project, CryptoKitties, started 3 years ago. In fact, I met some of their management and country representatives around the world as well. They had such a great community that was so interested in the project. And that really started everyone thinking about NFTs. And fast forward to today, 3 years have passed, and a lot of projects are now publishing their, or even artists are publishing their NFTs on marketplaces. So let me show you, share my screen with you, and then you can see two of the very popular uh, sites that show that you can buy NFTs from. So firstly, there is OpenSea. So I have my own wallet on OpenSea. I have a few NFTs in a project, KingSwap, that we are helping to run. And on OpenSea, I'll go to the homepage. You can see it says it's the largest marketplace for rare items. So you can look. It's just like any e-commerce site. You can look at all sorts of art, all sorts of NFTs, even virtual worlds. All right. So you can see here, someone is pricing something at 0.15 ETH. This art piece is 0.055 ETH, etc. So these are usually in Ether pricing, but you can specify unique tokens that you want to specify the pricing in. Virtual worlds also have their own prices. So this is like for games. If you play games like World of Warcraft, for example, and a lot of the popular multiplayer, massively multiplayer online role-playing games. There are all sorts of weapons, shields, armor, all sorts of items that you can trade. And this is something that lends itself, NFTs are something that will lend itself very well. So NFTs have two types. There are the fungible types and the non-fungible. The not NFTs can be on a standard called like ERC 721, which is the normal standard, and improved standard is called ERC 1155. So ERC 1155 can have two types of tokens created: fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. So some games are already adopting this standard, this new standard 1155, and the 1155 ERC tokens can create general items like gold. So gold is fungible, right? One piece of gold is the same as another piece of gold. So the ERC 1155 gold items are fungible. And the unique items like the weapons, the shields, the armor, etc., can be minted also in the same protocol, which is ERC 1155, and they can be non-fungible, which means they are unique and they have special properties and powers. Then, of course, there are collectibles. Alpaca City is one of the new DeFi and NFT projects, and it's quite interesting. And there is another one that a friend of mine, Hugo, is actually promoting called Flower Patch. So that's another kind of game that is promoting NFT, and I think the flowers there are uh, uh, cannabis flowers. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, then you can see all sorts of different types of games. So I wanted to show a live demonstration, of all these things if any of you are not familiar. So there are all sorts of different collectibles and game platforms that can sell all these NFTs. And so let me show you again the um, initial page that I went to, which is my profile. And I'll just show you an example based on these three NFTs. Now, these look like a game, right? When KingSwap was launched, a lot of business associates, a lot of friends start ping me on Facebook and ask me, "Oh, what's this new game that you're playing or you're launching?" Actually, this is a DeFi plus NFT project, so it's actually a financial NFT, which is quite interesting, right? So let me just click on it. You can see KingSwap, NFTs mid-tier, Queen Sparkle. And when you click on it, then it shows the special properties, and just waiting for it. So this is the OpenSea interface. So you can see I bought it at 2 ETH. Then I listed, oh, I didn't list this, right? So I can sell it. People can offer to buy it from me. And here it describes the Queen Sparkle details. It says Queen Sparkle is a gem with a luscious purple hair. She's energetic and pretty, but loves spreading fake news on Facebook. So you can read about all these things. So there are things like properties. This is very similar to games concept. There are things like stats. What they can do, the dates when it was minted, when it's created, and then about the project. Right. So this is the project KingSwap, which is something that which is a project that I'm advising and helping to incubate, and we have NFTs within this DeFi space, and it's very gamified, so it allows the millennials to identify easily with it. So let me show you another platform right now. Right. The other very big platform that sell NFTs is called Rarible. And Rarible is very similar. So you can create your own digital items and sell, buy or sell items there. So this is their website, right? Same thing. Our KingSwap tokens are also on Rarible. So let me just show you. You can just search. So you can browse, to look at other kinds of NFTs. But for, like I said, similar concepts, similar categories. The most popular ones right now are art pieces, digital collectibles, and game items. There are more and more games that are using, like what I described just now, ERC 1155. So here, when I search for KingSwap, you can see all the different types of the NFTs. So you can see that it's not all the same, right? So these are similar, 2.5, King Werewolves, you can see Night Mummy, etc. So these are some of the different series. Why I say it's different is because each person's NFT is unique. That means it is non-fungible, is different from somebody else's. It can have a different history. You could have bought it at 0.24, you could have sold it at 2, and then someone else bought it back again at 5, etc., and it will have a different history. So these are examples of the non-fungible characteristics of these tokens. Right, so you can, as a creator of the NFTs, you are able to create the smart contract and to give it certain powers and properties, but you can basically identify them between themselves, right? So one is not exactly the same as another, right? So that's about Rarible. And coming back to this, so NFTs shaping the future of art and games. I believe very strongly in NFTs being a huge growth market over the next 5 to 10 years. Why? Because the world is moving into a more and more digital form. Nowadays, if you ask any millennial and they don't have a phone, then that's not really a millennial, right? Most millennials are with a smartphone or two or three. If you look at the younger generation in some of the developing countries, they don't have other things, but they certainly have a smartphone. And games are increasingly adopting NFT standards. And like I mentioned earlier, the new standard 1155 is actually very, very popular for game creators because you can both create a non-fungible token as well as a fungible token using the same ERC standards. Art also is very um, easily lends itself very easily to this space because the another big problem with art is provenance, right? You often hear of old masters paintings that are discovered at some dusty attic, and then the experts have to come in and verify whether it's a real old master or it's a real old painting or whether it's a fake. So what they have to do is to use their tools of trade and then peel back the layers, check the history, etc. But all that can be easily solved if you have a digital representation of the art. If you have an NFT to represent the art, or in fact, if the art piece itself is also produced already as an NFT, then it's very easy. You can track the provenance on the public blockchain, and you know exactly that this is really the item that is tagged to it, right? So that is a huge cost savings for the art world, and it's a huge removal of a barrier to entry. Because, as you know, most of the art pieces are actually circulated in the world through auctions, and the qualification to get into invited to these auctions is actually quite a difficult thing. But but with the advent of NFTs and with art pieces moving into the NFT world, in fact, it's very very easy for people to now trade in art, to buy and to support artists, and to earlier Eddie also mentioned the word patronage. So you can patronize, some budding artists and actually donate or to invest in their art pieces as well. Anything that is digital is easy, right? The world has shut down this year due to COVID, but the digital world is still alive and pumping up. More and more people are getting on digital platforms. More and more governments are recognizing that they have to go digital. The COVID situation has basically sped up internationalization and globalization and digitization and digitalization by leaps and bounds, right? At least 5 to 10 years. So a lot of platforms and technologies such as NFTs are actually going to be progressing much faster, and the take up rate and adoption rates are going to shoot through the roof. So this is just the beginning. I think 2020 was a very interesting year that saw the major event of COVID actually impacting many many industries. And in the gaming industry has never been stronger, because when people are stuck at home, they have nothing to do. They have to go online and play games, right? So more and more games are doing well, and more and more games are adopting NFT standards for their items, because they are foreseeing that beyond the game environment, these NFTs also have a secondary market and a trading market, which can easily be supported by platforms like I mentioned just now, like Rarible and OpenSea, where marketplaces for such items can be found. Right, and once there's a secondary market, then a whole cottage industry will spring up over the games. So just as a lot of you who are in the gaming world know about Blizzard, right? Blizzard came out with its great products like more than 20 years ago. The one of the best products at the start was StarCraft, and that allowed them to dominate the gaming world. And the secondary market was huge, right? There are multi-millionaires created out of the secondary market of trading in items and farming of items. So NFTs in today's world is basically facilitating the same kind of environment, and in fact giving it a growth spurt. So to me, art and games are two huge industries that can benefit greatly from NFT adoption and introduction. And not only that, the other industries, which are the older kinds of industries that I mentioned earlier, such as real estate, equities, financial products, etc., all will find their own use cases in NFTs. So, okay, enough from me for now. So thanks very much for joining me in this session, and look forward to speaking with you very, very shortly again. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. It was a good insight for the future of art and games.
You're welcome.
So, what is the market of Asia Pacific for art and games NFT? For an idea.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Yeah. Now, what is the market size of Asia Pacific for NFTs, especially focusing on art and games?
Oh, I don't have that number tip of my fingers right now, but let me just check, and I'll get back to you at our next panel session.
focus on the panel, all those questions and everything. Okay. Thank you,
Yep.
Malcolm, for the great insight. Look forward to the panel. We end this session. Thank you.